question. What I understood the most was, like, when they were taking patient history and when they were assessing some of the examples or some of the like the signs of their illnesses that they were complaining about from their outward appearance. And I specifically was helping study lupus patients.
Okay.
And specifically systemic lupus erythematosus, which is more like outward body rashes all over the body, depending on what level you're experiencing it at. So it was interesting when they were using more medical terms to describe where they were, how it was presented. But then also, like, how in Grey's Anatomy there's also, like, some basic terms that are common to, like, any non-medical civilian.
Right.
So it was just interesting to see how it, like, is still tied into that. But also how, even besides, like, understanding medical terminology, like, it's still represented, like, their patient-doctor relationship.
Yeah.
That's seen throughout the show. Like, that is a common thing, especially with patients who have chronic illnesses that need to be seen more frequently in comparison to Grey's Anatomy, which is more, like, urgent.
Yeah.
But, yeah, more so, like, talking about their bodily rashes or what they're feeling, like, more internally, like, with digestion, with headaches, with things that are invisible to the eye. It was easy to comprehend.
When you, like, first started going, did you, like, understand, like, every single like, all the terminology they used, or did you learn it, like, on site, or was it like you kind of knew those terms from somewhere before you went?
Yeah, luckily I was more shadowing physicians. I wasn't in their more urgent setting like in the show, so the terminology wasn't as hard to, like, learn if I didn't know. It was more comprehensible, especially in repetition with seeing patients who have similar ailments every day. It wasn't very, like, different, but for the one, like, I did know a good amount, which shocked me because how am I able to comprehend how a doctor is interacting with his patients and like even like medications, like I was able to understand certain medication abbreviations of how they use or ask for it in like the TV setting. But yeah, even for the ones I didn't know, like, I caught on pretty quickly, especially with the repetition, which I would say is just different from Grey's Anatomy because different scenarios repeatedly until they start going into more specialties later on in the show, where you start to see more similar things.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, personally, I don't know if, like, when did you watch Grey's Anatomy? Like, when were you watching that?
So I'm a Grey's Anatomy repeating watcher. Like, I finished it fully, like, 4 years ago, watched it again another 2 years ago, and then I haven't rewatched it since. It hasn't been a large enough gap.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So you would say, like, the first time you watched it was, like, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
And okay. And then, like, were you already kind of introduced into, like, the medical, like, scene before? Like, did you see anything else, or was it just, like, you just researched a lot about it beforehand?
I would say I did see a lot of it. My grandparents have, like, a lot of medical issues, so I was always the one that would be going with them to their appointments, having to hear all that patient-doctor interaction, hearing the medical terms for, like, and they both have different, like, problems, so I was still getting a broad range of, like, understanding in terms of different illnesses. So, like, I had some form of a basic understanding, but, again, not enough to, like, hear it and think, ooh, like, that's, like, a medical term. Like, it was more just, like, a common, oh, yeah, he has this and that. But then after I watched Grey's Anatomy, I was actually, like, putting two and two together from, like, my prior experiences, like, just seeing it as, like, a background character to, like, their visitations and stuff. I don't know, like, personally, I guess I can't remember when I first watched Grey's Anatomy. It's been so long, no clue when, but, like, I feel like that show, and I would say, like, I would argue that show and then, like, channels like Dr. Mike's, like, were the ways that I learned certain, like, medical terms. But then later on, I took, like, bio and I took anatomy in high school. I'm like, oh, yeah, like, I know those two, or, like, whatever. I knew, like, cardio because, obviously, like, heart, because, like, I hear it all the time on, like, TV.
But like for me, I feel like because the show like is just so easy to digest, I guess like it's easier for me to like take in those words, and then I would just, I don't know, I like, obviously like the show's dramatic and it's meant to entertain.
Yeah.
And so I feel like Dr. Mike's channel is like a good way to like, you know, call it out and kind of like correct it.
Right.
But I feel like also he's also trying to entertain people. So
right.
Is there like, I feel like there might be like a conflict of interest there, because like, yeah, he like wants to entertain as well. So is he gonna like, I don't know, like bring up certain things that maybe like aren't so like crazy just because he wants it to be a good video? Or is it like just the goal to educate? I don't know. Like that was kind of like way like crazy. I don't know where I was going with that, to be honest.
No, that's valid, because the only reason why I got interested in Grey's Anatomy was not only because it was a medical show, but there's a bunch of other medical shows that didn't fascinate me, and maybe because either they weren't entertaining enough or they weren't like showing like the cool crazy kind of stuff that you would expect to see in whatever dramatized TV show. And I think even with Dr. Mike, like he may not go into explicit detail on like, you know, some of the crazier things maybe we want to see, but he's still keeping it entertaining by making it comprehensible.
Right, yeah.
And I think that was like the goal of both like Grey's Anatomy and maybe even Dr. Mike, is like, I'm entertaining it because I'm telling you, and I'm taking you through the process of like, this is what this is, but they're also like in Grey's Anatomy, they're also learning it too. Yeah. So then it gets broken down throughout the show, and then all of a sudden by the end of it, when they're the professionals and they're the ones that are top ranking, it's less and less explanatory and more so like, well, we kind of learned it with them, so we're picking up on things.
That's actually so true. It is kind of like a lesson for both the characters in it, but then it becomes a lesson for people watching it anyways.
Exactly. And Dr. Mike is more so like, he knows he's always gonna have to break it down in baby steps, because especially with YouTube channels, like there's like a 99% of the population is not starting from the very first episode that they created on YouTube, or first YouTube video. Yeah. So like he's aware that like, even though maybe let's say his very first follower is watching him, and maybe they're like, oh yeah, I already know what tachycardic means, and I already know that that's not how they do it in the actual OR. Yeah. He still has to go back and acknowledge, well, this actually isn't realistic. Oh, well, this actually, you know, they shouldn't be doing this. Even though maybe people who have been watching him are like, duh, like, obviously. Yeah. But they still have to go back and acknowledge, like, that learning factor of, like, well, for the viewers that have, like, no knowledge of medicine, like, this is what this is and that is, comparing it to TV, whereas, like, they know you're following it from the first to the very last.
True. Yeah. I feel like he's also probably more used to explaining the terms anyway, so he probably explains it in a better way than, like, the drama. Right. Because he's used to explaining the terms to patients anyways. Yes. I don't know. But, I don't know. I just kind of, like, felt like Grey's Anatomy is, like, a decent tool. I feel like the medical field is very, like, limited in, like, who gets to learn. Yeah. So I feel like it's kind of, like, a good tool, to be honest. Even though it's, like, dramatic, I feel like it's still, like, a way for people to like get a glimpse into that world and kind of like understand how like. No,
it definitely is.
Right, yeah.
I think Grey's Anatomy teaches more than just medicine. It teaches you about your medical rights. It teaches you about just like ethics in general. And even though most of the time they are accurate, but it's not depicted in its like how it would in real life. Right. So like everything that they're saying is correct for the most part medically, like with tachycardic, like they're they're not gonna, you know, fudge like what that word is, or like HIPAA, or even like a simple thing of learning that like certain religions have restrictions on, like I just always think of like the Jehovah Witness patient that he lost so much blood in surgery, and then didn't realize that they wear tags that say like I'm a Jehovah's, just in case that they go into the situation and they are not allowed to receive blood. Yeah. So it tells the doctor, hey, like, you can't do a blood transfusion, it's against their religion, blah, blah, blah. So there's things that you learn besides just, oh, what is a heart rate? Or, like, oh, how do you take a patient vital? or learning. Like, it teaches you, like, life lessons in relation to medicine and even just ethics in general.
Yeah.
Like, knowing how to talk to people in sensitive situations.
Right, yeah.
How to deal with high-stress situations. And they always don't show, like, the perfect ending to each patient-doctor interaction. They're always showing, like, oh, well, when this intern messed up, and then that person, like, ended up dying from an illness because they gave them the wrong medicine. Like, they show certain components that most likely do happen in real life. No doctor's perfect. But you also just learn in general. Like,
yeah. That was actually really good. You brought up a lot of points I don't even think about. But, like, you gave me some good content there, Nia. I think, like,